Hey, hope you're all well. It's early in the morning, and I'm happy to report that I've had a great night's sleep. For those of you who don't know, I suffer with insomnia, and for the last since I've been in Australia, really, I haven't really slept well at all, not at all. The last few weeks have been particularly bad, and I just have not got any sleep whatsoever. Maybe 3 or 4 hours a night. And that's broken sleep, and it's been horrendous. Now, I've heard about this stuff called melatonin, and it's supposed to help you sleep. It helps with jet lag, it helps with anxiety, and a lot of different things. Now, you can't actually buy it over the counter here. Well, you can, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. You can get it in places like iHerb online, which deliver, but I wanted to get something here and I wanted it now. So I did a little bit of research, and you can actually buy it over the counter in places like Chemist Warehouse, but you have to be 55 years old. I'm 54. So I went in yesterday, and the gentleman behind the counter said to me, he said, "How old are you?" And I said, "I'm 55." He got the stuff, put it on the counter, and he said, "Have your ID?" I'm like, "Damn." No, I haven't got any ID. This is how desperate I was, really. Anyway, he said, "I can't sell it to you." He basically, I think he knew I was telling porkies. And I mean, look, I look well over 55 in my opinion, but he just looked at me and he thought, "You're not at all." So there you go. I didn't get away with that. However, I did get its homeopathic version of it. It's still melatonin in these pills, but it's a very diluted form. And you take 1 to 3 of these under your tongue each night, about half an hour before you go to sleep, and it's supposed to work. And so I did it last night, and I've had an okay night's sleep. It's not been perfect, but it's been okay, a lot better than it has been. Now, at the moment, I'm just putting that down to I was so damn tired that I just probably collapsed. I'm reading this book at the moment called oh god, off the top of my head, uh, the cat travel diaries or something. Anyway, it's a really good book, and I'm quite into it. And I read about just over an hour a night, and it's supposed to make you sleepy. It just doesn't do it to me. In fact, it makes me more awake. I've nearly finished the book, and it's been only been a couple of days, so that's fine. I can cope with that. I just need to finish the book because I need to know what happens. But it's not doing it. So when you research online about ways to help you sleep, reading a book doesn't necessarily work. In fact, it probably just makes me a hell of a lot worse. So there you go. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about someone who's no longer with us. A few weeks ago, I put this in my blog anyway. I found out that a dear friend, Myra, had died, and I'd known her for many, many years, 20 plus years, and we used to go out partying together and all the rest of it. And she died about a month ago, and I'd only just found out through her sister. Now we had a great chat on the phone, actually, me and her sister, and I'm totally devastated by it. I mean, I with Myra, I was in contact with her all the way through. Even and I used to get Christmas cards from her every Christmas, even here in Australia, and vice versa. And I was talking to her sister, and I explained that I was talking to Myra during the pandemic because she was quite vulnerable and she needed people to talk to. And I think I'm so grateful for the time I actually had with her. She was an amazing person. Now, today is quite bizarre because last night I dreamt about a friend called Giles. Now, Giles is from Portsmouth, or was from Portsmouth, shall I say. And he worked in the theatre. He was a costume designer, and he met many wonderful, famous people. And I remember his stories. He used to tell me all sorts of stories about this person and that person. We used to have a great laugh. And when I was living in Portsmouth, just before I came to Australia, when Daryl was trapped in Australia during the pandemic, Giles came to see me in the pub where I was working, and we had a lovely chat and, reminisced over great times, really. And I discovered after this dream, well, the dream I had was, it was Giles, and he was reaching out. And I thought, I have to look on Facebook. I have to find out how he's doing, because I hadn't heard from him for quite a while. And he passed away a year ago, and I didn't know. And I feel so guilty about it. But this isn't really about me. This is about Giles. Now, Giles was a person who was there. I suppose he was a fairly recent friend, probably since the early 2000s. And he kind of followed me wherever I went, social media as such. So he, when I was in Spain, he was there. When I was in the UK, he was there. He was even there part of my time in Australia, and we would chat. And yeah, he was a great person to talk to, and he was full of advice, and he had a wealth of knowledge, and he was always so bloody helpful. And when I needed someone, I know this sounds terribly selfish, but when I needed someone to talk to, he was there. And he's not any longer. And sometimes you need to see a friendly face, or you just need a few friendly words, and you can't get them anymore. And that breaks my heart, really. But it breaks my heart more that I didn't know he had died. And I think this part of this problem, when you move around as much as myself and Daryl does, we move around so much, whether it's in the UK or Spain or Australia, that our lives become preoccupied with rebuilding each time, because it's a new life and we're kind of starting again. And in many respects, friends tend to take a back seat, and that's not intentional, because I love my friends. I dearly love my friends. My friends are mainly centred in the UK, obviously, because that's where I spend the majority of my time. And I regard them as precious. They are precious people in my life. And I have so many wonderful memories with them. Giles was special for many, many reasons, but the biggie for me was being that person I turned to when I needed a friend. And sometimes, he wasn't specifically there in front of me, talking to my face, but he was at the end of the phone, or he was in a message on social media. And sometimes that distance helped. I don't know why, but it did. It gave me and him an outlet. He was a special guy. He really was. I've lost a lot of friends over the years, and obviously as I'm getting older, I'm losing more and more, and it hurts each time. It hurts. It really does, and I hate to no longer see those faces there. And I was lucky enough because Giles wrote for my blog, so the memories of his writing are there, and I can refer back to it, as I did this morning, and I will refer to in the future, and that really does help. It's the same with Myra. Myra always contributed to my blog as well, and the fact I've now got tangible cards from Myra and from Giles that I can look at, touch, feel, put up at special times, anniversaries, Christmas, birthdays, is, once again, it's a very, very special thing to have. I don't care about money. I damaged my wedding ring yesterday. I walked into a door and I was like, oh no. And it annoyed me all day. And I'm Googling how I can fix it and all the rest of it. And then this morning, I find out about Giles and I think, it's a piece of metal. Yes, this is an important piece of metal, but it's still there. It's still on my finger, even though it's I'm having to hold it on with, because I've lost so much weight. I'm holding it on with what do you call it? A ring, whatever it is, separator, resizer. But it's still there, and that's what matters. And I still have these little tiny things from people that are no longer with us. Paul Judd, mother, I have a ring, a broken ring that she gave me before Pride in 1990. Gosh, 6. Steve Rogers, he gave me a friendship bracelet, a what was it, a material one. It'd fallen to bits, absolutely in bits, but I've still got a fragment of it left, and it's with me here now. Annie, dear Annie, God bless her. I've got a drawing because she loved doing drawings, and she did a drawing for me, and the drawings always had eyes, and they were so mystic, so Annie, and I still have that with me. It's not about money and wealth and how much you can accumulate. It's about memories and the little tiny things that are, gosh, they don't mean anything to anyone else, but they mean a lot to me, and they're still with me. So that's all that matters. That's all that matters in life. So I guess what I'm trying to say today is, life is precious. Memories are also precious. And I've got to stop worrying about the things that don't matter. I do suffer with anxiety and stress and worry. And I just need to step back and think, hang on, friends no longer with me. They can't have this conversation. They can't speak on a video. They're no longer on social media. I can still talk. I'm alive. I'm a stress head, but I'm still here. That's all that matters. Anyway, cheers for listening. Speak to you next week. Ciao.